Ghosts in the world are not as cruel as human hearts, but there are still people with conscience among the demon race in the world. Some supernatural stories, I hope everyone can laugh them off. Break the fog and welcome the light. Everyone has their own opinions. Please give some comments. Chapter 1. Deep Resentment of the Old House, 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sky here is always so blue, and the sun is always so poisonous. I, as someone who has been living in Chengdu for a long time, feel extremely uncomfortable, and the high temperature has made my temper much hotter. Fortunately, every day in life is always accompanied by accidents or surprises. I will meet a female netizen whom I have known for about half a year tonight. I think you can also guess a little about what it means to meet netizens in S City. This news made me very happy. I returned to my residence early, took a shower, and changed clothes. I applied gel water to my hair that I didn't usually tidy up, because I was handsome myself, and I happily looked in the mirror. Then he smiled contentedly, decent and decent. At the agreed station, I silently lit a cigarette. The meeting time is approaching, which suddenly made me feel a bit uneasy. After chatting online for half a year, what will she look like? I once tentatively asked her, and she always confidently said, if I were not a beautiful woman, there would really be no beautiful women in S City. But it's hard to say about this kind of thing. After all, many internet celebrities dress up as beautiful women and die from exposure to light. Every time I think of this, my anxious mind causes a strange tremor throughout my body. Although I am no stranger to a girl's body, this sense of mystery still excites me greatly. Are you just a streamer? At this moment, a crisp sound came to my ears like a heavenly melody. I turned my head to look for the sound, and then couldn't help but freeze. The cigarette playfully slipped silently from the mouth and rolled a few times before falling into the grass below. I hurriedly stepped on it a few times to extinguish it, and then threw it into the nearby trash can in a panic. She is indeed a beautiful woman, with a slender figure and a stunning appearance. What fascinates me even more is her hair, cascading down my waist like a waterfall. A pure white shirt paired with a black short skirt is simply my ideal shape. I am Feng Ji. Her small mouth opened and closed like spitting out orchids, but I was stunned and couldn't speak. My ears were buzzing like a big gong. Silently, she approached me and naturally wrapped her arms around my shoulder. A cold sensation made me wake up in an instant. I made a reservation at the restaurant. I suddenly became a bit incoherent. Her arms are really cold. Although it is still evening, the temperature in S City is still very high. But it made my whole body tremble with excitement. I know some girls have skin that is as cold and lovely as snow in summer, but it's not like this temperature. Let's go then. She had no expression on her face, her beautiful dark eyes fixed on me. The look in my eyes was as if I had misunderstood, which made me feel a bit flustered. I cleared my throat under cover. Okay, she leaned naturally against me, and we rolled over the road like lovers. Her body is fragrant and soft, and the delicate touch on my arm can feel her firmness. Her body is a bit delicate, which makes me confident that I can hold her and walk far and wide. The two of us remained silent, like a couple who had been together for many years. I booked a Chongqing-style restaurant, and she once said she has always liked this flavor. I am from Chongqing and naturally enjoy local cuisine as well. I kindly moved the chair for her and sat carefully in front of her. She looked at me with affection, as if she had already become familiar with my appearance. And I also adjusted my mindset, taking advantage of this opportunity to appreciate her angelic appearance. She is really a perfect woman. I often see her in my dreams. A waist-length long hair, slim waist, and slender figure, although dreams are always not so clear. But I believe that person is her. I secretly made up my mind not to wander alone anymore, to keep her firmly by my side. While I was lost in thought, a waitress from the restaurant pushed open the door and walked in. "Sir, may I ask if you are alone? I looked at her with some dissatisfaction and thought to myself, do you knowingly ask? However, this little sister is also a beautiful woman. Around the age of 20, she has some freckles on her face but still has a charming expression. There's really nothing I can do. Normally, I wouldn't throw a tantrum at any beautiful girl. Sorry, little sister. I want to make a correction, it's two of you. The waitress's face suddenly turned red, followed by a hint of apology. Are you ordering now, sir? Could you please help me? Miss handed me a beautiful menu, and I smiled and reached out to take it. Accidentally, my fingertips touched each other, and I couldn't help but feel a movement in my heart. The fingers were small and slender, with a faint flesh color that was warm and comfortable. I turned my head to look at Fengji, who was also looking at me seriously. Why is Fengji's hands crystal clear but devoid of blood? First, I'll have a portion of pickled pepper chicken feet. Miss, what's wrong with you? In my remaining light, I clearly noticed the young lady trembling slightly. I didn't turn on the air conditioning, but it's a bit cold. The young lady smiled, her warm smile shining into my eyes. Really, I haven't paid attention yet. The little sister may have just entered and immediately felt it. The whole room is very large, with a large sofa, TV, and orange lighting. But it was like I had set the color temperature wrong when taking photos, and the whole room was shrouded in a faint blue, appearing eerie. Perhaps it's just a feeling. Your room is well designed, and even without air conditioning, it can make me feel cool. The young lady nodded obediently and rubbed her right hand unconsciously with her left hand. Chongqing girls have really good skin, I can't help but think. After ordering, the lady left. I turned on the TV and was playing a Celine song called I Remember L.A. I liked the stroll of two of them under the shade of the forest, the taste of love passing by in time. Every time I hear this song, it always stirs up my mood. Fengji, let me toast you first. She stood up plump and floated towards me like a cloud. We naturally hugged each other, swaying slowly from side to side with the lyrics and music. Her slender waist was tightly clenched, and I couldn't help but greedily smell her breath. You're like a piece of cold jade on the plateau, beautiful and freezing. I gazed at her jade-like face, my lips leaning against her fair and tender earlobes. Gently exhaled a breath of hot air, and after the collision of breath, I clearly felt her panic. A pair of bare hands left my shoulders and gently placed them on my lower abdomen. A chill invaded my body, instantly restoring clarity to my confused pupils. We'll talk about it later. She said softly, I have always liked you, and people have always been yours. Upon hearing such sweet words, my heart was already drunk. That was a perfect dinner, just the space. I haven't seen her smile once. The urban planning of S-City is very good, and we walked hand in hand under the coconut trees. Although the weather in this city is still so hot, as long as I hold her waist, I am no longer afraid of this scorching summer. Anyway, it seems like there's no need to buy an air conditioner. If I could hold on to her all day in the future, what kind of beautiful vision would it be? We were having a pleasant conversation, and I tried to find some funny jokes. But no matter what, she never shows a trace of a smile. Ice beauty. Time flies backwards, I feel like I'm back in college. At that time, I liked a girl who was also cold and unsmiling. Many senior students, including myself, have suffered from bruises and bruises. But I don't think Fengji is like this, because when I hold her, I feel her body's reaction. Perhaps beneath this appearance is a passionate and fiery body. Wife, I naturally spoke up, and she was equally generous. Why is your body so cold? Oh. Don't you like this feeling? Okay, there's no need to buy an air conditioner, but... Chapter 2. Deep Resentment of the Old House, 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But what, husband? I need to do some warm-up exercises before I want to hug you, hee. Let's go. Which hotel is it going to? Wow. Did I hear you right? I originally wanted to take her to a bar and warm her up in the flickering candlelight. After getting drunk, I took her over and didn't expect her to suddenly speak up. But I like passionate girls, but at this moment I'm not mentally prepared. It's not far ahead, just over there. I pointed to a towering building, with various lights flowing on it. Perhaps we can get to know each other better. I don't want that kind of thing that only. In my mind, that moment of brilliance was not what I needed. She turned her head to examine my face, and then smiled for the first time. My figure was reflected in a pair of dark and bright eyes, like a twinkling star shining in the incomparable black. I have always liked you, and I have always been yours. Can you go first? I will arrive in about 10 minutes. Husband, what do you like me to wear? My thoughts have drifted somewhere, like being in a fairyland. I struggled to swallow my saliva, then blurted out and debuted. Hi. Like. You wearing a big T-shirt, is it that kind of big T-shirt that looks more stylish? Okay, I'll come right away. You go first, what's the room number? 27 13-inch. Husband, what color do you like? At this moment, a girl passed by us, her beautiful ketone body wrapped in a large white T-shirt. Behind the T-shirt is a mischievous Mickey Mouse, which looks cute and adorable. Feng Ji glanced at her and then at my reaction. Well, I got it. Husband, go take a shower and wait for me. I think I drifted into the room. I can't even remember how I got into the door, how I got into the elevator. Warm lights gently spread throughout the room, and the double bed in the middle flickered in the light. There is also a large mirror across from the bed, as if one can see the next scene. This is a 5-star hotel with luxurious and generous rooms. The bathroom was frighteningly large, with water silently overflowing the bathtub. In my opinion, her skin should be gentler than this water, right? I was completely absent-minded while taking a shower, constantly looking at my watch. It's been 20 minutes already, why haven't you come up yet? But I immediately let go. Girls, especially beautiful women. As a gentleman, how can one expect others to be punctual? Standing in front of the huge French window, you can see the night of S-City at a glance. The distant sky emits a eerie light blue color, with countless buildings in Shenzhen in the foreground. The lights are shining brightly, and the traffic is flowing like a web. If I had a camera, this would be a moment of forgetfulness for me. At this moment, I am already floating and can't help but look down at the hotel gate below. Although it is 27 floors high here, I hope to see her. Although we have only been together for 2 hours, I think I can't forget her anymore. Several police cars were approaching from afar, and the flashing red and blue lights were particularly bright at night. Don't have an accident, right? I began to worry inexplicably. Unfortunately, the police car got closer and closer, vaguely reaching the place where we broke up. I saw a large group of people surrounding a place, and a scream came from afar. Although this is the 27th floor, the sound is so mournful. An inexplicable sense of terror permeated every pore of my body, giving me a chilling and piercing sensation like falling into an ice cave. This feeling is like embracing Feng Ji into one's arms. In the distance, the wind and clouds suddenly changed, and the sky was shrouded in black clouds. Is the storm coming in S-City? My heart is starting to jump wildly. Don't be her, husband, do you think I'm pretty? Turning my head, I froze again. She stood there barefoot, covered in a white T-shirt. Besides, I can't tell what else she's wearing. Maybe it's an illusion, maybe it's due to the lighting. She became lively, with a faint pink color on her crystal-clear face. My lips seemed to have turned red, and my eyes have become lively and playful. Moreover, the corners of her mouth were slightly smiling. Silently, I came to her. She threw herself into my arms, like a swallow returning to its nest. Her ketone body temperature is soft and smooth. I don't know what exactly happened. It's only been 20 minutes since we last saw each other, but she has become so full of color. At this moment, what's happening outside the window has nothing to do with me. I only have this angelic girl in my eyes. She gently pushed me away and curled her lips with a light smile, saying, "I'll go take a shower first, and you'll open the champagne." Turning around, she ran towards the bathroom, with a Mickey Mouse laughing at me on her back. Where do you think you've seen it before? I'm a bit absent-minded, calling for champagne. She lay beautifully in my arms, really a stunning beauty. I held champagne and kissed her cherry lips. She was like a person about to die of thirst, desperately demanding any liquid from my mouth. A delicate hand wrapped around my neck, gently caressing my face. Suddenly, she stopped and gently caressed my broad chest with her fingers. "Have you been wearing this all along?" I looked at the blue warm jade in her palm, and I didn't know who gave it to me. I had a serious illness when I was a child, and I lost my memory of the 3 years before that. I woke up wearing this piece of jade around my neck, and even adults don't know the origin of this jade. But if I don't wear this jade, I will soon suffer from a severe illness with cold hands and feet. Since then, this piece of jade has never been taken down. Yeah, I've been wearing it all along. This jade is really unique, it always seems to give me some good luck. Do you know the origin of this jade? It's very broken, so just throw it away. I don't know, I think it's very important. I never thought about taking it off. I think I'll wear it for a lifetime. She lowered her head and kissed the jade, and looked up with tears streaming down her face. She kissed me tightly, hot and crazy, and before I could even think, I was drowned in a surge of desire. The moonlight shone on her, like the color of that jade. I caressed her young ketone body, the 2 towering mountains with a gentle touch. And my emotions grew even higher. I kissed and caressed until she urgently called out, "Husband, I carefully made some attempts. But she still made a painful sound, my head buzzing. She is really. Just as my mind was spinning, she let out a soft breath. I have always liked you, my body and mind have always belonged to you. Upon hearing this, I began to feel a bit helpless and couldn't help but cooperate with her at that moment. I saw her dark pupils begin to dilate. The black color continued to expand and mercilessly engulfed me. I heard her intermittent breathing in my ear, until I finally fell asleep. I stood in the office daydreaming, perhaps yesterday's experience was a dream. I don't remember how I came back from the hotel, I just woke up in the morning and found the bed empty. There is no smell in the air, which proves the passion we had last night. Did she just leave like this? I read the morning newspaper. My little brother Año walked in and handed me a newspaper. "Look, it's a beautiful woman." I took a casual glance and saw a young and beautiful girl on the front page. The background is green grass, and it turns out she is lying on the ground. The photo was only taken above the shoulders, and the girl's eyes were dull and lifeless as she stared at me. Her gaze even made me shiver. Who took this? It's not up to par. Año gave me a strange look and said, "Can dead people be photographed with artistic effects?" I lowered my head and looked again, "Beauty Strange Death," with a big black headline that was shocking. Upon closer inspection, it appears to be the grassland next to the XX Hotel in S City Bay. The girl died strangely, with no trace of her body before her death. There were no wounds on her body, and the onlookers were all frightened. I was suddenly surprised. The place where the murder occurred was where I broke up with Fong Ji yesterday and bought a T-shirt. Looking at the photo of the corpse again, those eyes looked like a dry well, and a cool and eerie feeling rose from the depths. The black part of the eyes slowly expanded in a daze, and the entire office lost its light. I am surrounded by darkness in all directions, and my hands and feet are cold and I cannot shout out. The sound in my ears was full of whistling wind, a voice coming from the abyss. Return my clothes, I want to run away quickly, the surroundings are dark. A chill gripped my hand tightly, like the icy body of foam G before. 9 days of thunder moved all things to silence, and I collapsed weakly on the sofa. The sun was rising outside the window, and Anyo was teasing the girl from the neighboring company outside the door. Was it just my hallucination just now? I struggled to walk under the scorching sun, but the chill in my heart couldn't be dispelled. I trembled and lit my cigarette, taking a hard puff. Boss, what's wrong with you? Did you fight someone? Anyo looked at me with some concern, following his gaze. After looking down, I saw a blood-red handprint on my left hand. I met a ghost. Trouble. You must have been fooling around yesterday. No, I just. Chapter 3. Deep Resentment of the Old House, 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Forget it, even if I say it, it's useless. Perhaps it's just that I consumed too much yesterday and felt dizzy today. I smiled with difficulty, maybe the mark on my hand was caught by myself. As a staunch atheist, this level will not shake my inner beliefs. It's okay, I might have been a bit tired just now. I think it's probably because I didn't have breakfast. Anyo smiled mysteriously. Speaking of encountering ghosts, 3 days ago I went to Hong Kong. A fortune teller said that the people around me were in trouble and gave me this thing. He spread out his hand and saw a wrinkled yellow paper. I believe there are ghosts in this world, Anyo smiled and directly stuffed the yellow paper into my pocket. That's why I kept this talisman. Boss, you can keep it and maybe use it someday. Go. I'm an atheist, you better keep this kind of thing for yourself. I didn't push him away in anger, I don't believe in ghosts and gods. I rarely go to temples when I travel. Firstly, I cannot understand those gods and Buddhas, and secondly, I have no faith at all. I dare not go back to the shade, that chill cannot be shaken away. From now on, I can't help but doubt my belief. The sound of Penguin's software rang, and I couldn't help but wake up from bed. Then I walked to the computer, and it was already 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Foam G's long-haired avatar flickered, and I couldn't wait to open the chat box to check the messages. Thank you for your clothes. I was really happy yesterday. I hesitated for a moment. She bought the clothes herself, thank you. What do I do? Yesterday you were beautiful, wife, don't call me wife, okay? Starting today, you're going to call me Lin Shiyu, Then I'll call you Yuhao. You, why did you give it to me yesterday? I owe you something, I have to repay it. I don't understand, did we know each other before? It's okay if you don't understand. What clothes do you want me to wear tomorrow? Let's stick to that hotel. Okay, husband, whatever you say is fine. You should wear a red low-cut top and jeans underneath. Husband, you're so lascivious. I can't do anything about you. Okay, but I don't have a red low-cut top. I think you will have it. I looked out the window and across from the girls' dormitory at S-City University, there was a red low-cut top hanging. The morning in S-City is very comfortable, with the sunlight slanting in front of the window. The coolness of the night has not yet faded, and I greedily enjoy the air. Thinking of being able to hold a beautiful woman's sleeve at night, I immediately felt a sensation under my lower abdomen. It's really irresistible, let's enjoy it tonight. Now take a break and rest up. I got up and brushed my teeth. Outside the window, you can see the girls in the S dormitory busy. Class is starting at 8:30, right? That building has 7 floors, did the red clothes from yesterday be taken away? Most people who can wear such clothes are beautiful women. I remember it was on the 3rd floor, so I carefully searched for the window from yesterday's memory. I see a window, my eyes can no longer move away. A person was lying on the writing desk, with long black hair accentuating the snow-white skin on their back. Oh my goodness, she's actually naked. From my perspective, I can see her full buttocks. Hee hee, girls nowadays are really bold. They are not afraid of so many perverts outside. She just lay motionless, facing me, but at such a distance, I don't know if she's open or closed. Maybe she's still sleeping. Isn't there anyone else in the dormitory? I brush my teeth while admiring the scenery flying in. Boss, are you sick? Anyo comes in and stares at me. You don't seem to be sick. The office can't find you, so you probably haven't woken up yet. Did you go again yesterday? No, come and see. I dragged him to the window and said, look, there, on the 3rd floor. See. Wow. 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 Anyo's eyes have never been that big before. I'll go get a telescope and wait for it to collapse, he said. Anyo flew out, and in less than a minute, he rushed down with a 20x binoculars. Let me see first, 5 minutes per person. He anxiously adjusted the focus. I smiled, use perfect ketone body. There's no need for this, and distance produces beauty. I really need to get closer, maybe the dinosaurs might have ruined today's mood. You take it easy, I'm going to work now. Boss, there seems to be something wrong. At the moment before leaving, I clearly felt Anyo's voice tremble. What's going on? I snatched the telescope from her hand. Anyo surprisingly trembled beside him. Did you encounter a ghost? I smiled at him and looked carefully at the window. The girl has beautiful eyebrows and eyes, and her skin color and figure are all top notch. But her eyes kept staring at me intently. I was taken aback and adjusted the focus. Her hands began to shake involuntarily, and it was difficult to see her again. Her pupils have lost focus, as you can see from me. She happened to look at me, the lifeless black part of her eyeballs slowly spreading in the lens. The black spread out and felt the sky losing its brightness. I vaguely saw the door slowly opening behind her. A girl walked in and seemed surprised. Hurry up to the table and cover those eyes. The surrounding sky returned to the color of the morning, and a scream echoed through the clouds. My dreams are black and white. I haven't asked anyone if they have seen colors in their dreams, but I am indeed black and white. I am by a big river, watching a small stream flowing straight into the river from a deep place. I followed the stream in search of its source, and the winding path always extended at the end of my sight. The trees on the roadside are tall and straight, with wild flowers shining in the cracks. Although everything is black and white, I feel very familiar with it. This is where I lived when I was a child. But the scenery along the way seemed so unfamiliar, as if the trees had grown a lot. I was the only one in the forest stepping on the withered leaves with an empty voice, as if someone around me was staring at me. I saw several stones piled up on the roadside, with a branch pressing under the stones above. The branch has started to rot, with an indistinguishable color and shape tied to it. What a familiar feeling. I stood in front of the pile of stones, reminiscing bitterly. I don't know when the mountain wind started to become piercing rain, silently invading the collar, piercing cold. I looked around to find a shelter from the rain, and there seemed to be a voice in the distance that was a child's smile. There must be a family there, right? I followed the sound and suddenly felt very scared in my heart. I couldn't go over. But my footsteps cannot stop. That force begins to drag me step by step towards the unknown. The child's laughter began to clear up, and the volume gradually increased. Finally, in my mind, I covered my ears. But it couldn't hide the strange laughter, and the trees suddenly opened. An old house stands out. That house has no door panels, and the black hole seems like a door to hell. Summoning me, I couldn't help but walk towards that old house, and my heart began to scream, "Boss, wake up quickly." Anyo looked at me anxiously, sweating profusely. And I just realized that I was just in a dream. I had a nightmare. I wiped my sweat. It's okay, it's okay. Nyo, go ahead and get busy. I'll go pour you water. Oh, by the way. The police are here and I want to ask you a few words. Unconsciously, I fell asleep in the office. In the morning, I saw a police car coming. A large crowd rushed in, and the scene was chaotic. I came to work first because the company was busy. Why are you looking for me? I don't understand the situation of this case either. The police couldn't hide even when they came to my door. This was my first time dealing with this sacred profession. Hello, Mr. Liu. My name is Liu Fei and I am the captain of the S-City Criminal Investigation Support Team. Undoubtedly, he is a charming man, belonging to the kind of calm middle-aged man that girls nowadays like. I heard that you and your friend saw the scene with binoculars this morning. Have you noticed any details? He directly asked the point, and I couldn't help but feel a bit annoyed. This Nyo is really a big mouth. Surprisingly, it's been said everywhere that you can still get involved in this matter. It's not what your friend said. He seemed to guess my thoughts. It was a passerby who saw you two looking at the girls' dormitory with binoculars and said, "You." I can't hang my face, but in fact, almost every man around the girls' dormitory has a telescope. This is not a secret either. What I want to say is useless. But I didn't see anything, so I told you the truth. Officer Liu was not disappointed after listening. Just tell him if you remember anything. The moment I saw him off, I suddenly remembered the red low-cut top today is considered ruined. I am extremely depressed. I'm strange, why don't I ask you to wear a white low bra? I have always liked white. Thinking of this, I thought of you again and the passion in bed that night. Quickly, I forgot about my unhappiness and hurried home with that Nike backpack, taking a taxi to the hotel. I ordered a pizza and a red wine, lit a candle, and waited quietly for the arrival of the Jade. There are boring Hong Kong dramas on TV, and I'm flipping channels around aimlessly. It's Suri's Moonlight, I really like it. Ignite a cigarette, and I savor the song carefully. It's like moonlight outside the window, sometimes dark, sometimes bright, and sometimes bright. Ah. Is it love or palpitations? Ah, moonlight, husband. You're not allowed to turn back. Upon hearing this delicate voice, I couldn't help but turn my head back and a pair of soft little hands covered my eyes. Chapter 4. Deep Resentment of the Old House, 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You're not allowed to look. I've seen it everywhere, can't I see it yet? Wait and see, she begged. Okay, if it's more than 5 minutes, don't blame me, okay? Hearing the rustling sound behind her, is she changing clothes? Why not go out and not change? Isn't this not good? Thinking of this segment, my whole body's blood started to boil. Okay, I opened my eyes and saw a shy expression on her face. That red dress made her face even more beautiful and charming. There was once an ancient saying that goes, with fragrant hair hanging from the temples, clouds covering the lotus roots, and a pink orchid breast pressed against the plum blossoms. But at this moment, it is just right. Red is an absolute match for her. Her jade cheeks and exposed skin were highlighted by the red color, making her exceptionally fair. What a beautiful woman, I couldn't help but admire her in my heart. You are really beautiful. Husband, you too. I rushed up to her and threw her onto the bed, holding her in my arms. Ah! She lightly hit me and then begged for mercy. Shall we eat first? Not good, listen to me this time. She first kissed you on my neck, then mischievously drew a circle on my chest. Okay, then come on, don't blame me for not having an appetite later, hee. The temperature on her body kept rising, not as cold as when she first met her. I didn't have time to think much and was busy doing what I needed to do now. Although there aren't many appetizers this time, we are all in a good mood at the moment. Like two swimming snakes desperately wriggling their bodies, they quickly rolled into a ball after a moment. After that moment, we all stiffened our bodies and the world seemed to crash around us. After a moment of drowsiness, we began to have dinner. However, during that dinner, the two of us also fed each other and held our right hands together. "Don't buy me clothes next time, husband." This is the last sentence I heard. Before I could think, I had already fallen asleep. It's so cold, I'm lying in an ice cave. I have been afraid of the cold since I was young, and I found out that I am not wearing any clothes. Curling up in a ball cannot slightly alleviate that chill. I crawled around hoping to find a warm place. In the dim light, I suddenly saw a white T-shirt and climbed up to put it on, trembling. Looking down, a well-behaved Mickey Mouse. I realized I was wearing it backwards, but I didn't care too much. This piece of clothing is simply not enough. I continued to climb until I saw a red shirt. I no longer think about why used clothes are here, I just grab them and figure out where to put them. At this moment, a shadow suddenly drifted past me. I quickly turned around and only saw a vast expanse of white. Slowly turning back, there were two shadows on the wall. My body was stiff and unable to move, and those two shadows remained motionless. I have forgotten what to do and am stuck in a stalemate. Suddenly, those two shadows began to move. I vaguely saw that I had reached out two hands, and I desperately retreated. But I can't move it, those two hands are already in front of me. "Return my clothes. Return my clothes." The mournful voice rose higher and higher, echoing in the ice cave. I closed my eyes and let those two hands tear at my clothes. The cold temperature seeped through my clothes and my body could only tremble desperately. "Ah!" I shouted and flipped over to sit up. The bright mirror across from me can see the fear on my face as I sit on the spacious double bed. It was a long time before I realized it was a dream. I took a long sigh of relief, and you was no longer there. Just like when she came, it was always so mysterious. I came directly to the company, but none of my subordinates have come yet. I calculated and just slept for 2 hours. A person knocked on the door and walked in directly. I looked up and saw that it was Officer Liu. "Officer Liu, I really don't know," I said wearily. He spoke calmly and said, "We've investigated. Do you still remember this girl?" He slapped me a newspaper, which featured the girl who died strangely next to the hotel. I deliberately avoided her eyes. "What? Does this matter have anything to do with me?" "We can't be sure yet, but last time this girl had an accident. You seem to be around there too, right? Is this clearly a coincidence?" I'm too lazy to argue with him. "This girl is from Wanxian County, don't you really remember?" "My fellow villager." I couldn't help but carefully look at the girl's photo and then respond. "Officer, I really don't know this person. Her name is Bai Chi." "Bai Chi? Bai Chi? I don't remember, I don't know him." "Don't worry, think carefully. When you were a child, you lived in a mountain bay, right? There were 2 arms factories inside. Damn it, did you investigate me?" I can only make it clear to him that I had a serious illness when I was a child, and I can't remember anything from that time. Afterwards, my parents took me to the city, so I can hardly remember the people from those 2 factories. "This girl is 2 years younger than you," the police officer persisted. "You should have played together back then." "Oh my goodness, that was all 10 years ago. The female college student has undergone 18 changes, not to mention that I fell ill again at that time." "So, what about this person?" He took out a photo, obviously just developed. "Her name is Meng Yao, 3 years younger than you." I looked at the photo, no doubt it was also a dead girl. "He looks good too, but I have no impression at all." "Who is she?" I quickly shifted my gaze, as this girl's eyes were equally frightening. Although it was summer, I still shook a little. "It's the girl you saw yesterday morning." Officer Liu scrutinized my face, seemingly wanting to find some clues on my face. She was also my childhood playmate. I saw the landing officer, he nodded. I vaguely feel that this is abnormal. Did someone specifically kill my childhood companion? This seems to have something to do with you. If you think there's anything strange, be sure to tell me. He stood up and shook my hand, leaving my office. Abnormal. I cursed. No matter what, they were both young and beautiful girls. Who is so perverted that wants to kill them and make them naked? With a sudden movement in my heart, I chased out, Officer Liu. Fortunately, he didn't go far, so I leaned in and asked. Have they ever been fucked by someone else? The first one is obviously a sudden event, and the second person experienced such a situation. That's not easy. Can we find the culprit based on the liquid left by the other party? Alas, we didn't find any DNA samples at the scene. Obviously the criminal's hands and feet were very clean. He hesitated for a moment and added, moreover, he's also very abnormal. Can you talk about it? Officer Liu thought for a moment and said, okay, let me tell you. I think you have some connection to this case, maybe you can help us. I couldn't help but secretly feel grateful that this matter should have nothing to do with you. She is a woman, does she always make such a move? The situation at the scene shows that the person did not know how to enter the room. He smiled awkwardly. Perhaps it was the girl who opened the door for him, I reminded him. The gatekeeper downstairs didn't see anyone go up. He's getting old. Besides, even if someone goes up, he's afraid of taking responsibility and won't tell the truth. Well, that's all we can speculate about. Let's ask that old man again. Chapter 5. Deep Resentment of the Old House, 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Officer Liu began to explain the situation to me based on the collected evidence. A man stood in front of a sleeping girl, who was the only one in the dormitory. The other girls have rented houses outside, probably living with their boyfriends. Summer in S-City is quite hot, and girls only wear some close-fitting clothes. The girl's fair skin emitted a dim glow under the moonlight. A man with a cold aura stood in front of the bed, his eyes filled with a fierce expression. At this moment, his breath became somewhat rapid, and after congestion, his pupils emitted a cold light that devoured people. Perhaps the girl is having a nightmare. Although she was still asleep, her breath began to become somewhat chaotic at this moment. The man became increasingly excited at the sight and began to act up and down. The girl couldn't help but start trembling, murmuring some dreamy words in her mouth. When the sinful hands peeled off the last line of defense, she finally opened her eyes. Before he could make a sound, the man had already torn through her intimate clothing. Stuff it into her mouth and then pull out a rope. The girl tied her opponent's hands, who were trying to resist, to the iron frame bed, and looked at the man in terror. The other party covered the girl's face with a pillow, and she even suppressed the last cry for help from her nose. The man started punching the girl's abdomen and thighs until his hands began to feel numb. He moved the pillow and saw the girl's face covered in tears. The girl's eyes looked at him humbly, completely surrendering. After that, the man did not show any mercy towards the girl and watched her contorted face due to pain. He actually smiled proudly, looking like a demon returning from hell. Then he released the girl's hand, took off the clothes from her mouth, and casually threw them aside. After a beautiful scene finally, her voice grew louder and louder. Out of breath, just as she couldn't help but scream loudly. Her hands grabbed her neck from behind, and she could only see the indifferent face of the man behind her in the mirror. She wants to beg for mercy, as long as it can keep her alive. She can do anything, but this man has no mercy at all. He grabbed the girl's slender neck with one hand, but pulled out a short blade with the other. A knife pierced her chest, and he admired the girl's convulsive expression from the mirror. As she watched her pupils gradually dilate, she whispered softly. Now you have paid off. I can't help but shudder as I imagine the madness of that night. However, it cannot be ruled out that the crime was committed by a woman. Officer Liu sighed lightly and saw my confused gaze. He explained, because there is no evidence to suggest that it was not done by a woman. In fact, this kind of thing does not necessarily have to be done by a man. Maybe it was used. What kind of tools can also create that kind of illusion? What a fucking pervert. Officer Liu clenched his fist in anger, and the knuckles of his right hand began to click. He said that the girl was covered in scars all over her body, except for a smooth back. I also began to detest this pervert, especially this girl who was my childhood playmate. Officer Liu, if I have time, I'll go back home recently to inquire about the villagers and see if there's anything I can help you with. Officer Liu kept observing my expression while speaking, as if his gaze was looking at a criminal who had been disguised for many years. Okay, but if you encounter danger, you can't continue. Please contact us as soon as possible. After seeing him off, I sat on the chair without saying a word. For a long time, the Penguin app started flashing, and it was my Jade that went online again. I'll show you a photo. Strange, it seems that you is a bit serious today. The image is in GIF format, but due to my slow internet speed. So I saw that it was initially blurry, and then gradually became clear. I carefully identified what looked like a forest, with a dark mass slowly emerging along a small path in the middle. The branches of the tree gradually became clear, and the black block in the middle became a standing rectangle. The shape around the black block slowly protruded, and I suddenly felt a wave of palpitations, with many bumps on my skin. The chill emanating from the depths of my heart froze my thoughts, and the picture still calmly and clearly showed the open mouth of the black elephant. Especially catching in the silent autumn forest, an old house that seemed to have been in decline for a long time stared at me on the screen. My eyes cannot leave that black hole, as time passes. I seem to be waiting for something to come out of that black hole. I am very scared, but there is a power that I must see. Boss, sign. A voice woke me up, and Anyo approached me with a business trip expense report to sign. He looked at me strangely, muttered and turned around before leaving. I pressed the power button on the computer and rushed outside to start vomiting. Who the hell are you? The portrait of you on Penguin software is quietly there, a cartoon girl with big eyes and blue hair. I used to love this avatar so much, but now it seems like it's mocking me and my blue hair looks strange and inexplicable. What's going on with that old house? The other party didn't respond at all, as if it was just my dream just now. I started dialing her number, but it always got cut off. I started frantically trying to redial. Suddenly, her portrait began to flicker. Husband, are you here? What happened to the picture just now? Hee, I haven't sent you any photos before. Husband, was it too tiring yesterday? Have you seen the female ghost? Is she very beautiful? Don't joke. It was clearly the picture you sent me just now. I don't know, I just went out for a meeting. I've cut off all your calls, and there's a boss around. I can only go online now. You really don't have it. No, are you feeling unwell today? Let's go dancing tonight. What should I wear this time? No, don't wear anything. At this moment, the faces of those two women before their death suddenly appeared in my head. Their clothes. Is it her? But how could she have the strength to kill those two girls? Unless she's a ghost. Ghost. I couldn't help but be surprised. The first time I saw her, she was so cold. Is that what a living person has? Husband, I know you're a pervert, but I didn't expect you're still a pervert. How should I go out if I don't wear it? You can wear whatever you like. I couldn't help but smile bitterly. I need to have a good talk with her tonight. She will kill two girls just to please me. I shook my head, it's unlikely. City is a city with many beautiful women, which is not false. Before you arrived, the beautiful women coming and going at the entrance of the Diba had already dazzled me. City girls have a characteristic that they dress very attentively, unlike some city girls who are exposed. They are all quite reserved and dress with a particular emphasis on temperament. Excluding emotional factors, I think the quality of beautiful women in S City is only slightly higher than that in Chengdu, just below Chongqing. Thinking of this, I remember the old saying to people that I am from Chongqing, which is indeed my hometown. After graduation, I arrived in Chengdu and my ID card was also from Chengdu. I can't let go of either of these places, and even though I'm from Chengdu, I quite like them. A pair of warm hands inserted into my arms, warm and slightly cool, that was the girl's skin. I turned my head to look at you, who was wearing a white collar suit with pure black fabric for work. I found that beautiful women look good in any style or color they wear. Alas, God always favors them. This professional outfit perfectly complements her perfect figure, but it doesn't quite match the environment. "Let's go in, husband," she smiled obediently, and I was so dizzy that I had long forgotten what to say to her. She pulled me and ran into the dance hall. The music is deafening, and the lights drown everything in madness. The girls who came in earlier began to shine and enchant in the darkness. But who is more charming than the girl next to me? There are too many people, and we can only snuggle and wriggle together. Perhaps this action reminds us of something at the same time. So they stuck even tighter, and their hands began to be dishonest. In fact, the people around me are even more exaggerated. A girl's hand has already reached into the man's pants, and the two of them are shaking there with their eyes closed. That can't be considered dancing at all. The sound here is too noisy. I see Yu's lips opening and closing. But I didn't know what she was muttering, so I picked her up and walked towards the bathroom. Along the way, I felt countless hands touching me and her, and we couldn't do anything about such occasions, and we became even more excited. I put down Yu at the restroom door, and her face turned red. I was about to kiss her. At this moment, the door to the restroom opened. A young lady from a bar walked out, wearing a white shirt, a black short skirt, and long boots. She walked past us with her head down. Although she was just lowering her head, her tall and straight peaks became even more sexy. I couldn't help but take a second glance, thinking that you must look good walking like this, right? Did you see the beauty again? Humph, you smiled and slapped me, and I hugged his slender waist tightly. You're so beautiful, I wouldn't look at others. That's strange, she retorted, just watch it, who said I owe you something? Do you owe me something? I don't remember how many times I heard you say this. Chapter 6. Deep Resentment of the Old House, 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ah, this man's nature is like this, I know this truth myself. Actually, even after reading it, I don't think much, it's just a habitual desire to take a look. Besides, isn't it the same for women to look at handsome guys? What do you owe me? Wait a moment, I'll go get the wine and you'll tell me. Do you want to intoxicate me? I gave her a kiss and turned to squeeze into the crowd behind me. After a moment, perhaps I really drank too much. When I received the wine, I was already dizzy and had no idea in which direction the bathroom was. I struggled to move through the crowd when suddenly a cold sensation hit my waist. I felt that it was both hands, slowly moving towards my chest as they reached into my clothes from behind. A cold body pressed against my back. This makes me never dare to act rashly again. At this moment, the music in the field seemed to disappear, and the people in the pool stirred up in the darkness like ghosts in hell. That body was moving like a cold snake, moving from my side to the front. I saw a skull slowly rising from below to my eyes, rubbing against my body along the way. That I didn't have any whitening, it was as black as an old well. The wine bottle fell silently from its hand and hit something, and the skeleton let out a loud scream, which turned out to be the voice of a girl. In my stunned state, one hand pulled the skeleton off, revealing a small face and a painful mouth. The girl wanted to laugh and scream for pain, but in the end, a few giggling girls next to her pulled her back. I told you not to scare people, you deserve it now. Look at your feet. Don't think about jumping today. You just used up all the ice. It should hurt now. Haha, I touched the cold area on my body, and some of it had turned into water. I couldn't help but laugh or cry. Ignoring these crazy people, I regained some clarity and looked around, finally finding my way. Seeing the anxious Jade at the entrance of the bathroom, I quickly ran over. I dropped it on the way. I'll go get it again. No need, the company has an urgent matter, I need to go back immediately, bye. She kissed me and then ran out, and before I could say anything, the beautiful shadow had already merged into the crowd. It's really unlucky. There were some things going wrong today. Drowsily returning to the table, the young lady only drank 2 bottles of a new dozen beers. Based on my alcohol tolerance, I can only drink up to 4 more bottles. I was thinking about how to deal with it when a small face and a small mouth appeared in front of me. Handsome guy, please treat me to a drink. I looked at her, vaguely the girl who had scared me by pretending to be a ghost just now. Looking at the pile of bottles in front of me, I nodded helplessly. The little girl grabbed the bottle and poured it into her mouth. It seemed like she had almost finished drinking. Mind her, her group of friends will take her away when she gets drunk later. So I didn't advise her to drink to her heart's content. She swayed her body while drinking. Now girls are really developing his mother well. I started drinking with a bottle. Come and dance. I didn't pay attention to her, she started rubbing against me. I have drunk so much that my skin feels numb and I don't feel any stimulation. Just following her, suddenly she stopped. I have seen you before. She leaned in my ear and shouted loudly. I looked at her, her head was dizzy and she couldn't even remember. I've seen you at XX restaurant, hee. I've been working for so long, and it's the first time I've seen a person occupying such a big house to eat. Are you having too much money to cook? I carefully looked at her face. It was when I took you to dinner and met that little girl. My mind was in chaos, like a drowning person desperately trying to grab something. I grabbed her and said, what did you just say? I said I've seen you. Haha, handsome guy with money, why don't I be your girlfriend? I shook my head in disappointment and then continued. That's not the sentence, please repeat the one you just said. Which one is that? Oh, I said you took up such a big room to eat alone, and you had more money. I started to sweat and my whole body kept trembling. Are you sick? Let's go outside. She looked at my pale face and kindly helped me push towards the door. On the table, all the wine bottles are already empty. Is there really a ghost in this world? Otherwise, why didn't this girl see Jade in the room? The first girl died strangely and the cause of death could not be traced, while the second girl was entered into the room using a mysterious method. She was also killed, and she always wore the same clothes as the deceased. That mysterious photo that appeared, but she didn't harm me either. Thinking of her kissing the jade on my neck and the phrase she has said many times. I have always been your. There is another sentence that I owe you. Is it possible that although she is a ghost, she just came to repay me? I began to recall the story of the charming young man and Xiaoqian in the Liaozhai that I had seen. At this moment, my heartbeat is not so strong anymore. But why did she specifically kill my childhood playmate? Was she jealous? The bright lights outside the window made me realize that I was sitting in a taxi with that girl. The girl murmured in a daze, lying in my arms and sleeping soundly. Damn it. I just remembered her now. As I looked at her, she slept like a little pig, just the kind that was quite cute. Inside the reflector, I noticed the driver scanning us with ambiguous eyes. I stared at him, but the driver turned around. Where are you going? How about I take you to Bagwilling? It's cheap, 10 yuan. I snorted, I can't afford to lose that person. The driver smiled and said, where the hell are you going? I've been taking you on the street for 10 minutes. She didn't tell you where to go. I pointed to the girl. Forget it, go to University. I live next to Shenzhen University. Perhaps after drinking, my strength increased. I held the girl and climbed up to the 5th floor in one breath. First, throw her onto the bed, then take a shower in the bathroom. Water dripped down from my head, and my numb body couldn't feel the texture of the water. I wasn't afraid of the crowd just now, but now I'm trapped in fear again. I dare not look at the night outside the window, I dare not look at anything black. As if that ghost house or jade disheveled hair is about to appear again. I grabbed a towel and rushed back to the bedroom. I need someone to accompany me, and I started making phone calls to Anyo trembling. He lived upstairs, but after a while of random dialing, he surprisingly said, "The user has left the service area." I am speechless. I looked at the girl sleeping soundly in bed, still sleeping soundly and spitting bubbles in her mouth. I couldn't help but smile and let go of my fear. When someone is scared, it would be much better if I could hold them. I held her tightly, with the light on and my eyes tightly closed. She twisted her body and impatiently said, I don't have the strength now, you. Help me take it off, I'm not a gentleman, I'm just scared to death at this moment. Where else do I feel? I am holding a girl without any trace, just like how I used to turn her into a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, but now my body has not reacted at all, I just want someone to accompany me through this long night. Wake up, wake up. She opened her eyes in a daze and glanced up and down at me. Can you help me take off? I like others taking off my clothes, hee. I also want to. But not now, I have something to ask you. You say, nauseous. Hey, don't vomit, please. I used to vomit when I was drunk, but unlike others, when I was sober, I felt even more dizzy. So I don't want her to vomit either, and although my bed is not very clean. But I don't want to sleep on the bed board for a week. It's okay, I won't vomit. I didn't drink much. Her consciousness began to clear up, and I hurriedly went to the kitchen to pour a glass of cold water for her to drink while resting on my shoulder. Chapter 7. Deep Resentment of the Old House, 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Have you ordered it yet? After getting drunk, her eyes became blurred, and her pink face was full of a charming charm. Handsome guy. Is that you? I'm dizzy, you can go to bed without even knowing who I am. Please tell me in detail about my meal that day. I stared at her face intently, with an unusually resolute attitude at this moment. Well, let me think about it. Handsome guy, we come and play a game, okay? Wait until you finish speaking before playing. I couldn't help but shout at her. She was clearly startled by me. I grabbed her hand. Did you really only see me that day? There was a young lady sitting across from me, with a white shirt and a black short skirt. She looked at my face and knew I wasn't lying to her, and her pink face immediately turned pale. You. Don't scare me. That day, I only saw you when I went in. I went out and even told my friends that a handsome guy came. There are also quite wealthy people who can enjoy themselves alone in the room. She carefully recalled for a moment, and then her face was filled with fear. Ah. No wonder. What? You go ahead and say it. The air conditioning was not turned on in the room that day, but it was really cold inside. Although it was a hot night, she still shivered. Ghosts. We both said this word at the same time. The atmosphere in the air became strange, and faint thunder came from outside the window. After a while, the rain began to violently wash away the world. I'm afraid. I have to go home. Sob. She cried in fear and hugged one of my arms tightly. Where can I find a taxi now after all this heavy rain? I responded angrily and then began to blame myself a bit. I am really a scumbag. I have also fallen into fear of harming this girl for my own selfish motives. This strange girl looks like a gentle lady in the restaurant. She became charming again in the bar, and now she has regained her little daughter's appearance. I gently hugged her and comforted her, saying, "Not afraid, I'm by your side. Actually, I am even more afraid than she is. Maybe it's not a ghost. Her body is very warm, just like you. I can't get rid of my fragmented thoughts when I'm with girls. Ghosts may also have warmth, otherwise those talents in Liaozhai should have noticed female ghosts." Although afraid, she couldn't help but softly echo my words. We hugged tightly together, and then remained silent amidst the sound of rain. I dare not tell her that 2 girls died unexpectedly, otherwise I would have scared her unconscious. Finally, the alcohol surged and we slept all night in a daze. The first ray of sunshine shone on my face, and I woke up. I used to go out and shoot the sunrise, but I wasn't as excited as I am now. I am so looking forward to dawn. I put on my clothes and then woke her up. Before seeing her off, she turned her head and gave a bright smile. "You scared me yesterday." "Hee hee, I like funny people. My name is Xiao Qian, here's this for you." "Chen Bumu Chao, what's wrong with his name? He even took a ghost name." I looked at the note she left in my hand. "My name is Yang Lu, and my phone number is 133XXXXXXXXXXXXXX. I couldn't help but raise my forehead and say, "This ghost girl." Anyo is not at the company at the moment, so I didn't let him go on a business trip. Really, I don't know where he fooled around yesterday. I am sitting in the office, with subordinates from the company coming and going. I'm just a mechanical, making them all inexplicable. After a moment, I still mustered up the courage to press use phone. The phone quickly got through, and I said word by word, "Are you human? Or a ghost?" "Ha ha ha, husband, you're teasing me again. I'm in a meeting, please tease me later. Isn't it enough for you to tease me on the Penguin?" Then the phone was interrupted, which left me feeling a bit at a loss. "Boss." Anyo appeared at the entrance of the office, sweating profusely. "Daniel, where have you been? I can't find you last night." "I'm going crazy. I went to Hong Kong once." "You wait, I'll have a drink of water first." He rushed to the front of the water dispenser and then took a few big sips without considering the appearance of the faucet. "Last time I saw you being abnormal, I quietly burned that talisman in your office. Are you still having nightmares now?" I remember what he said. I didn't have any nightmares last night. I met Tian Shizhong in Hong Kong and told him about your situation. He said that those 2 ghosts probably don't have much magic yet, they can only make you have nightmares. 2 ghosts. My head is getting bigger. He handed me a yellow paper, without a doubt it was another talisman. "This talisman is different from the last one. The last one was for protection, and this one was for summoning. If a ghost approaches, will the Heavenly Master's body be summoned? Kill that dog day, you're okay." I held this talisman, but my heart softened. If Yu is really a ghost, she is also so kind to me. Just now on the phone, she looked so obedient. How could I be willing to let her die? Why are you so heartless? Your child is so promiscuous. It's strange not to encounter a seductive female ghost, hee hee. I didn't have the heart to joke with him. "Anyo, you TNND are really my close friend. I will give you a 10% salary increase next month." "Haha, that's great. I'll treat you to my salary, and then find someone to take away the bad luck from you first." He ran out happily and loudly announced next month's treat outside. In the afternoon, the air conditioning in the office was turned on to its maximum, and it was so cold that it made people want to catch a cold. I dare not go out. The heat wave in S-City is like it can scorch people. However, I yearn for the sunshine and temperature outside, and my heart alternates between hot and cold. Do I really want to destroy the jade? Through my pants pocket, I felt the talisman. I jumped up like an electric shock. I have never said a heavy word to a girl I like or dislike in my life, let alone a jade that intoxicates my soul and soul. If this talisman were really so powerful, I would never have used it to deal with the jade. Waiting for a long time, hee hee. After thinking through this layer, my heart began to calm down. Even if she killed those two girls, she must have her reasons, let alone maybe she's trying to please me. Isn't everyone selfish? Do I need to care about others in this world except for those close to me? S-City is originally a city of the jungle, a materialistic city. She won't harm me, there's nothing wrong with my thinking. At this moment, the phone rings. It's you, husband. Are you human or a ghost? I'm a ghost. Upon hearing her voice, it was still the lovely Jade, and I couldn't help but tease her again. Are you a seductive ghost? I'll come over tonight to catch ghosts, hee hee. I hesitated. Although I thought so, I was still not fully prepared. Be good, you're. I can't do it today. I have to treat clients to dinner tonight. Not good. Well, if you encounter a beautiful female ghost, help me catch one and come back, If we don't catch ghosts, we may not be back until midnight tonight. Then I'll go watch a movie, Tomb Raider. I really like that flying lady, and she also has a live model show. She's so fake. I still like you, hee hee. What's wrong? Husband, do you think I'm too young? Cough. It didn't mean that. Humph. You must like the big one. At this moment, I have long forgotten the question of whether she is a human or a ghost, and made up words to make her happy. Having a woman's taste is the greatest happiness for a man, although I have always understood this. It's only now that I truly appreciate. In the evening, I turned on the TV and S-City TV was broadcasting the premiere of Tomb Raider. A tall model dressed in the cool attire of the female lead Laura made her appearance at the entrance of the cinema. She was wearing sunglasses and a small undershirt, with her belly button exposed and two exaggerated guns on her plump buttocks. What's even more exaggerated is that the size on top of her may be the legendary G. size. There were whistles all around, and I saw men staring at her with hungry eyes. Although I know it's fake, the sexy posture she made still makes me a little excited. If I let you do this, forget it. If you keep thinking about it, don't think about sleeping well tonight. Chapter 8. Deep Resentment of the Old House, 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Having no dreams all night, I struggled to open my eyes and felt very tired. What the hell did you do yesterday? I didn't seem to have done much after thinking about it. I remember watching a Hong Kong ghost movie and then going to bed. Moreover, I slept very early. It's very comfortable to take a cold shower in the early morning of S-City, and fatigue quickly disappears. I caressed the warm jade around my neck. Perhaps it was a promise between me and her in our past lives. She also found me after searching for this jade. Take everything as fate. As long as she doesn't turn into a skeleton, a beautiful female ghost is also good. Thinking of the skeleton, I remembered the twisted little mouth in the D-bar, the ghost girl named Yang Lu, and couldn't help but have a hint of smile on her face. I lay down comfortably on the office sofa, and on the coffee table was the morning newspaper that had just arrived. Turning around and picking it up, the headline above made me jump. Serial killer beauty fragrance elimination. I looked down at it at a glance, but unfortunately, its content was the last thing I wanted to see. Another girl from Wanxian County was found dead naked in the bathroom of a cinema. Suspecting the possibility of being forcibly assaulted before death, the newspaper did not publish photos. Can't it be the model from yesterday? I silently prayed that she would be safe. Hello, Mr. Liu. What should come will eventually come, and an old acquaintance, Officer Liu, walked in. Hello, Officer Liu. That's probably the reason you're here, isn't it? I handed the newspaper over and he confidently stacked the morning newspaper into a square. Not bad, that's indeed the case. Mr. Liu, could you tell me where you were last night? Yesterday, I was sleeping alone. The girl across from me is called Meng Yao, right? When she died, I was also sleeping alone. When Bai Chi died, my girlfriend and I were doing I think it's better to finish it all in one breath. We don't have any evidence at the moment, but you're already our biggest suspect, he said as he scrutinized my face, feeling a bit heartbroken. This girl's name is Qing Jie, and she is also your hometown. She works as a model in Shenzhen. After listening, my head hummed. My Jade, even if you please me, you cannot be a cold-blooded killer. I don't have much to say. I want to say that I didn't do these things. Believe it or not, it's up to you. My heart still reminds me to protect the Jade, let alone that she is not human and cannot explain it clearly. I spent the whole morning in the midst of Officer Lu's thorough inquiry. In the end, he couldn't say anything valuable from me. Start asking others in my company. I saw my subordinates occasionally glance at me with a sympathetic expression on their faces. Boss, we all say it's impossible. Saying you abducted Zhang Manyu, we all believe it. Saying you killed a girl is like talking in the dark. Everyone knows you're an honest person who cherishes flowers and jade. Anyo still looks serious and supports me to the end. But I couldn't laugh, and my heart began to sink deeper and deeper. A person ran to the Lan's Hao Lamb restaurant, mechanically nibbling on lamb skewers and drinking beer. I don't want to tell anyone that I didn't speak much when I was a child. As I grow older, I developed this habit of only saying a few words in front of old friends and girls. Besides, this matter is too bizarre. So Nyo inquired a few times, but I didn't speak. After finishing the last bottle, I immediately vomited profusely. I'm fine when I'm drunk, but it's even worse when I vomit. I just feel like there are spinning stars everywhere in the sky and underground. I don't remember how to get back to the room at all. It took me countless minutes to open the door, then I threw myself onto the bed and fell asleep. Oh, are you drunk? A pair of warm hands lifted my head. You. Is that you? In a daze, I only saw long black hair, which wrapped around and covered my eyes. And the world around me. Am I about to suffocate? It's me, do you remember me? Humph, you didn't call me either, causing them to wait all day. You. Are you a human or a ghost? You're the ghost, don't talk about ghosts anymore. I'm afraid. What did you just call me? You. I shook my head hard, and the small face and mouth gradually became clear. Is it you? Not bad, it's Yang Lu from the ghost elf yesterday. What are you doing here? My head started to feel dizzy again, and I leaned against her gentle peaks to caress. It's really comfortable. You're such a pervert, I see you're like a ghost. Alright, handsome guy, I'll take you to take a shower first. In a daze, I noticed her taking off my clothes. I struggled for a moment and instinctively resisted, saying, if you take it off again, I won't be polite to you. If you suffer a loss, you will find it. Humph, who says that having sex with two people means a woman is at a disadvantage? Actually, men are at a disadvantage, hee. Handsome guy, it's so hot on you. She gently caressed my body, but when I got drunk, my body became numb and I couldn't feel any pleasure at all. By the way, handsome guy, what's your name? Call me Anyo. After pondering for a moment, I couldn't help but feel a bit amused. This doesn't sound good, then I'll call you brother. Xiao Qian, do you have many brothers? She didn't respond to me and saw her undressing in her hazy eyes. Her back lines are very soft, and her fair and slender neck extends flat to her shoulders. I drew a soft curve and only saw a small half of the jade rabbit lightly sketching the lines. Then, with a perfect fit around the waist, it perfectly matches the lines of the buttocks. Extend straight down and fold up on the small feet. She turned around, and the spring scenery in front of her made me unable to open my eyes. Noticing where my gaze was, she proudly straightened her chest. How about it, are you satisfied? Don't be fooled, brother. Let's take a shower. I have never been hypocritical about sex, especially when girls take the initiative. I just feel my head dizzy and the ground is constantly shaking. I can't even stand up, let alone do those difficult movements. She shook her head helplessly and used all her strength to drag me up. Two people bumped left and right, and with a loud cry, they finally arrived at the bathroom. I think I'm even more drunk than yesterday, and I probably can't do anything about it. Although my mind is confused, I know it's impossible to have sex with her. I just don't want such a big beauty to disappear even though she's naked in front of me. I am an advocate for absolute gender equality, so when I am with a girl, I hardly think about who is at a disadvantage. Moreover, when a man gets drunk, he dares to do anything. I think even drunken men know this truth. She should also understand that being drunk alone relies on a warm body. That kind of taste. If you don't know, I suggest men give it a try. You. How did you get in? When she tried to throw me into the bathtub horizontally and vertically, I blurted out a few words. I almost forgot, there's a key in your door. Wait, I'll go get it. Watching her walk naked through the living room, I had to consciously crawl into the bathtub. Immediately after, she ran in, and the small jade rabbit jumped up and down, looking adorable. Then, with a splash, he jumped into the bathtub. I let out a painful scream, but the girl's knee pressed against my stomach. Brother, be good, don't cry, don't cry. Her bare hands were rubbing against my stomach haphazardly, and this scene really made me laugh and cry. Brother, what did you call me just now? Jade. Ah, poor child. I can't even speak clearly, the pronunciation is like this. She closed her small mouth and gently opened it, her tongue slowly turning. Lu. I looked at her, as long as the woman had a good figure, she would be naked. Actually, the difference is not significant, let alone I can't see it clearly now. In front of me, there is a faint appearance of Jade. I obediently closed my eyes and let her continue to play around recklessly. Chapter 9. Deep Resentment of the Old House, 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It is obvious that she does not have much practical experience. My whole body was originally crispy and numb, but after a moment, she made me ache. At this moment, she, who had calmed down, was completely different from her previous reckless state. Our bodies were tightly pressed together, and instead she became nervous and her breathing became somewhat rapid. You. It's you. Washing it for me. It's not me washing it for you. Why are you nervous? Hello, you have muscles, brother. After a moment, I had some reactions below. Hurry up and wash it, It's over, I'll wash it for you. Hee, do you still have the strength to wash me? Luster, why don't you come? The cold water started to wake me up a bit, and the spring scenery in front of me also made me excited. I helped her apply soap a few times, and by the time I finished, she was as soft as mud. I'm not used to doing that in the water, I just love watching her feel uncomfortable and excited. Didn't you take the initiative just now? I bit her tongue and teased her, maybe she wanted to say something. Just my mouth was blocked and I could only moan and babble. I grabbed the towel and wiped myself dry. Then wipe her. She no longer has the strength to stand up. I picked her up horizontally and strode towards the bedroom. She just lay on the bed, her legs tightly closed. Both hands were frantically trying to cover up something, but it seemed like it wasn't enough. She bit her lip and coquettishly exclaimed. What are you looking at? Come here. I know there are some girls who are not used to men's gaze. It's just that this little beauty is weird, I really want to tease her. I was far away from her and casually took the towel away. She just remembered to look for something to cover herself, but there was nothing on my bed. She had no choice but to drag out my pillowcase and gesture, not knowing where to hide it. She looked up at me fiercely, followed my gaze and moved to the base of her thigh. She let out a loud cry and covered it with a pillowcase. Her half-concealment only aroused my desire, and I pulled open the towel on my body, where it had already risen into the clouds. Upon hearing her low moan, I pounced and pressed her under me. I know it's not easy to control my strength when I'm drunk, so I try to gently touch her. It just seems that this gentleness actually stimulates her even more, as she wriggles as hard as possible to keep her body from falling out of my palm. She is like a flying swallow dancing in my palm, dancing seductively with my gentle gestures. She gently combed my hair. At this moment, I am waiting for her to calm down. After a moment, she began to tug hard at my arm, and I knew she needed something more intense. I let go of her little foot and carefully savored her earlobe while taking a bite. Her ears were white and transparent, and I gently bit and gradually moved deeper. She began to feel a little nervous, her slender jade legs constantly kicking and kicking. My little head was desperately trying to dodge, but then it moved towards me. Later on, whenever I lightly touched her tongue, she let out a soft cry and grabbed her hands randomly. She was surprised and opened her mouth wide, losing her temporary language ability. The moonlight shone on the bed, and the two people overlapped, motionless, and fell asleep. Opening my eyes, the night was just right. I looked at my watch and it was not yet 10 o'clock. Tomorrow is Saturday. I remember last time you said we would go roller coaster together on the weekend. Do I dare to ask her out now? I picked up the girl from the bed and put her in the bathtub. I washed her body carefully, and she just snorted lightly like in a dream. I gazed at her face, as if reminding me of something in my memory. But what exactly is that? I can't be sure, it's just that this little face is becoming more and more familiar to me. My heart suddenly moved, and I seemed to have a vague impression of Bai Qi, Meng Yao, and Qing Jie. Even Jade, I looked at her, feeling inexplicable in my heart. These 5 girls now only have you and Yang Lu left. And Jade may also be no, I can't imagine it anymore. Perhaps only the girl in front of me can tell me the answer. I carried her to bed and poured a glass of water, feeding her 2 sips of water according to her lips. She choked on the last bite and opened her eyes in confusion for a while before realizing it. I held her in my arms and pulled a towel to cover her body. Lu, can you talk to me for a moment? Well, I feel like sleeping, I'm really tired. Did we know each other before? I know you, I'm going to sleep. Brother. There was a sudden roar in my mind, and there was also a hopeful expression in my eyes. What are you saying? Where exactly did you meet me? I didn't expect the answer to be right in front of me, and all the mysteries would be solved. In the restaurant. Hee. Upon hearing this, I feel discouraged. Don't joke, I'm serious. Alright, tell me where you are from. Chongqing, are we fellow villagers? Chongqing is so big, to be specific. It's Wanxian County. Is that so? Fate has brought us together like this, and all causality needs to be resolved through the ritual of blood here. Did you live near a very old house when you were a child? The house was in the woods and there was a small road leading to it. I desperately recall the shape of the house I saw, even though I was just imagining it, my heart still fiercely prevented me from obtaining more information. I instinctively don't want to recall that house. And whenever I think of that house, my body involuntarily feels goosebumps all over. Brother, what's wrong with you? She looked at me strangely, frowning and beginning to search for distant memories. Her pupils began to dilate in an instant, and she nervously grabbed my hand. Hey! I vigorously shook her and splashed the water glass onto her face. But all of this is of no use at all. I was feeling helpless when suddenly a cool breeze slowly rose from behind my spine. The cold feeling spread to my limbs, and I couldn't move anymore. Somewhere behind me, I feel something staring at me. The light suddenly went out, and the sound of protest came from outside the window, as if it were the murmur of stars outside the sky. There is only a buzzing sound in the ears, echoing through this space. I cannot turn back, nor dare I turn back. Drops of cold sweat oozed from the freshly washed body, flowing from the corners of the mouth and neck to numbness. After a long time, a faint sigh came. I'm not sure if there was such a sound, but I heard the door gently close. With a kata sound, my hearing gradually recovered. As if returning to the human world, the noise outside is so warm and sweet. My heart beat, one sound after another. The muscles suddenly relaxed and then collapsed weakly onto the bed. That should be dawn, the leaves are tempting green. Sparrows were bouncing around on the branches of the grass. The valley, which had just rained, was covered in a layer of light mist, and the dew attracted butterflies to fly up and down. The unknown little bird with long feathers emitted a long and clear whistle. Everything is so pure. This is a spring morning. 3 boys were carrying baskets and chattering along the path, not making excited cries. From time to time, mushrooms can be seen in the depths of the roadside after rain, which they can easily collect. When the adults finish work at noon, they can have another big meal. At that time, eating a delicious mushroom soup was indeed considered a luxury. We're going to finish, said one of the children. We picked a lot today, haha. By the way, Wang Bing, let's go play in that old house. Okay, let's go together, the other 2 children agreed, and there were no fixed toys at that time. The greatest pleasure for these children who grew up in the suburbs is climbing holes to search for treasures and searching for things left behind by their owners in unoccupied houses. Last time I found a box there with many small paintings, possibly stamps, all of which were people who could sing opera. Wang Bing couldn't help but feel a little proud, with a smug expression on his face. Chapter 10. Deep Resentment of the Old House, 10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Well, I found 5 bullet casings there last time. This sentence immediately made the other 2 children's eyes widen. During a period of time after the Red Era, children were very passionate about guns and cannons, and children from that era knew it. Really? Let's hurry up. 3 children cheered and ran along the path. Oh my! A child fell and fortunately, the grass in the forest grew particularly lush, so he was fine. Hey, be careful. Wang Bing glanced at the thing that tripped the child and said, Ah. Leg. It's a dead person. Children have a greater fear of death than adults, and unknown things can easily make them fearful. Ah. 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 A few children screamed helplessly. How many turtle sons did you die? A disheveled head lifted from the grass. This fright is no less than death, and it took a few children a while to realize that it was not a ghost. It's that old lunatic. Several people gathered their breath. When did I go crazy? Don't talk nonsense, you kids, or I'll hit you. Amidst the messy hair, an old face caught their eye. They all say you are. Wang Bing finally didn't say those 2 words because he saw the old man's eyes staring at him fiercely. Where are you going? We're going to the old house. Hee hee, you kids. Do you know there's a ghost in that house? You're lying, I've been there many times. That's because you didn't encounter it, at this time. He lifted his head and began to reminisce diligently. There is no record of time for him, and he doesn't even know how old he lived. By the way, it's also spring. That day. The sky was so blue. Upon hearing this, several children were at a loss. Do you know about the anti-Japanese war? The 3 little minds shook together. Do you know what war is? A few little brats nodded together again. The movie Shengenling and Honghu Red Guards are often played in the factory. You know that the sun-drying factory produces shells, which were built when GMD retreated to Sichuan. On that day, The sky was filled with airplanes and the screams of bombs dropped. The old man looked at the sky with his eyes, and that day, it was as blue as water washed away. There are bombs everywhere, there's no place to run. People have exploded into the sky, and the blood is like rain. My clothes are covered in blood. A thigh in the front, which is a few clicks long, has exploded and is still moving. Blood is still spraying outside. I have never seen language so many, dead in my life. They lined up for more than a mile. Do you know that there are so many snakes in big graves that they are deadly? Do you know where they are buried? The old man looked at them coldly. Woo-woo. Woo-woo. The 3 children were so scared that they started crying. Right under that old house. Below, the old man laughed heartily, his voice icy cold and piercing. Mom, Mom ah. Mom ah. Seeing 3 children running away like they were running for their lives, the old man picked up the discarded basket and stuffed a few mushrooms into his mouth, eating them with a click. I watched this scene as the children gradually disappeared into the distance, and their cries could be faintly heard. I know I'm dreaming, and I have had such an experience. Just this dream is too real, it doesn't seem like a dream. I also know that this dream is closely related to what happened to me. But I still have no clue. I only know from the mouth of the old madman that there are countless dead people buried under that old house. The sunlight shines on me on time, and my ears itch. It seemed like a person's breath, and I turned to look at the naked girl in the sunlight. She sleeps obediently, occasionally moving her little mouth. Whispering out unclear words, her tall nose bridge and long eyelashes trembled slightly. I caressed her soft peaks, realizing that living carefree is truly amazing. Gently cover her with a towel and carefully close the door. Is that person from last night Jade? That sigh is really similar. What would she think if she found out about my betrayal? Did you kill Yang Lu or me? At this moment, I recall the words my grandmother said to me when I was a child. Nyo, you look so beautiful. Those girls will fall in love when you grow up in the future, miserable. You are lucky. My mom was standing next to me and said angrily, what's good? Maybe I'll die under my skirt in the future. Grandma said, pooh, pooh, pooh. Anyway, I've experienced everything in my life, and even if I die in the hands of a Jade, it's nothing. I am comforting myself, but there is a faint pain in my heart. She is really kind to me. I apologize to her. Even if she owed me in her past life, she will still pay it off in this life. I was restless all day and didn't accomplish anything. Returning to the room, the bed was made very clean. Before Xiaoni left, she left a red lipstick on my mirror. I took out an old towel and gently wiped it off. It was dark, and Yang Lu's perfume still lingered in the air. I knew I could not find her again, and I could not pass on this fear to her. I didn't lock the door, it's useless to lock it. Are you here? You stood at the door, tears in her eyes, crying silently. Don't get close to me, on my body. I nervously touched the paper on my body and couldn't help but take 2 or 3 steps back. Do you hate me? Yu's pitiful expression was truly heartbreaking. Although you're a ghost, I really like you. I took out the paper symbol and lit the lighter. The talisman quickly burned into a black-gray stain in the flames, falling to the ground and scattering into nothingness. I saw her choking up, tears silently streaming down her eyes. You said I'm a ghost, what else do you want to say? Yu asked gently. You killed Bai Qi, Meng Yao, and Qing Jia. No matter what the reason is, I can ignore it. But don't do this again in the future. You don't need to kill them just because I like their clothing styles. Yang Lu, don't kill her. Yesterday, it was just that we were drunk. I think you're a ghost. I'm so scared, I just need her to be with me. Bai Qi, Meng Yao, Qing Jia. She recited their names, her face pale, and she suddenly realized. The air is frozen, as if centuries have passed. We stood straight like a tree, and she gave a mournful smile. If I were a ghost, what would you do? I have earned enough money and I want to take you to the countryside, even if you come back to my hometown. Go to a place where no one knows us, where I want you to always be my little daughter. In law her face began to turn rosy, and her eyes also regained clarity. Then he approached me and gently pressed his head against my chest. Let's go to a place where there is no one. Don't go back to go home anywhere. I lifted her head and looked at her beautiful face. It's okay not to go back to my hometown, but I have to go back and figure out one thing before that. It's that old house. I feel like what's wrong with you, you. She trembled fiercely, her beautiful eyes becoming frightened. No. Please. Don't go back, that house. Her body couldn't help but tremble, unable to make any more sound. What's wrong with that house? What do you know? You, tell me quickly. Looking at my urgent expression at this moment, the despair on her face became even more intense. What should come will always come, and what should be returned will always come. This is fate, I'll accompany you. As she spoke, her eyes became resolute. Just that sadness couldn't be concealed, tears kept flowing in a continuous stream. Seeing this, I cannot bear to ask further questions. If everything goes back to that place, there will be an answer, right? I held her tender and boneless body, and that feeling was so real. How could this be possible? I can't believe she's just a ghost. I kissed her eyes, her moist eyelashes still holding salty tears. I read some supernatural stories that say that ghosts shed blood when they shed tears. You, why aren't you? Upon hearing this, she let out a soft sigh, and her pupils couldn't help but darken a bit. Why don't I show you the bleeding? Upon hearing this, I was startled. Don't, I'm joking. Don't scare me in the future. Me, I'll scare you every day in the future. Hee, be a good ghost, no. I think this ending is also good. For me, what else can I expect in this life? By the way, did you bring that set with you? It's Laura's. I'm not very willing to name the dead girl. I think she must have taken Laura's outfit. She was a bit nervous and looked up at me. Pity, sadness, and a bit afraid. Well, I'll go look for it. I came yesterday and I don't know where I left it. Found it, take it away and destroy those clothes. I just like you personally, not those clothes. She walked into the living room and I started preparing for the itinerary. Have you seen my Nike bag? Well, here it is. She stood at the bedroom door, holding my backpack in her left hand and a set in her right hand. I felt dizzy for a moment and said, "You take it with you." She turned around and stuffed the suit into her bag. Perhaps it was an illusion, but I saw her shoulders trembling slightly. We silently tidied up, and the casual contact made my heart tender. Did you owe me in your past life? So, how about paying off your debts in this life? Not in the past life, but in this life. No matter what you owe me, you have paid it off. By the way, you owe me money. You must owe me a lot, right? Go to hell. I need money. Oh my God, we started to fight together, carefully avoiding the answer to that question and all of this. Anyway, we will soon be able to uncover the truth. Now let's enjoy the brief time together. The next day, I explained to Anyo that I was planning to go home to visit my family. Boss, what exactly happened? Anu, how much do you know about ghosts? Hee, what do you want to know?